It's been incredible to see the Nintendo Switch with all of these RPG and action game franchises, Bayonetta, Xenoblade, Fire Emblem, Astral Chain, have so much success, but nothing is probably sweeter when it comes to I told you so or what was gonna happen than the 20-year Persona lie, absolutely shattered by the Nintendo Switch, and the half-decade Persona 5 lie that was perpetuated by completely faulty information and lies online. So we're gonna go ahead and break that down and talk about that here. Now, listen, guys, there was a lot of crazy Persona fans that swore up and down for years, heck, for decades, that this was PlayStation only. There's no way that it's going to anything else because Sony and Atlus and Sega have some type of specialty deal that nobody can break. It's unbreakable. Now, after all, look at this, guys. Look, Persona was exclusive to Sony for decades. Nintendo did get some Persona spin-offs, Persona Q, but mainline Persona was always only PlayStation, which I think helped bolster that lie, because even before it was mainline only on Sony, it was also spin-off stuff too, only on Sony, like the Persona dancing games. I think some of those might have been before Persona Q, but that doesn't matter. Pretty much the lie was bolstered by mainline Persona only on PlayStation systems exclusivity. There's a deal, even though there was absolutely nothing said from Atlus, from Sony, from Sega, from anyone in that realm about any type of exclusivity when it comes to Persona 5 or when it comes to previous Persona games. Now, things were once again kind of shattered a little bit when Persona 4 Golden came to PC, but obviously that's PC, it's a little bit different, that's not the same thing. There's been times where there's exclusivity deals like Final Fantasy VII Remake that also come to PC, so we're gonna let that one slide. No, there's some type of deal. So it's interesting how all of this came about. Now, remember guys, this Nintendo Switch comes along 2017, and I think that this was the first time in the history of me playing Persona, because I've been playing Persona games for a long time now at this point. All the way back, first I started on the PS2, then I went back and played the first Persona 1 and Persona 2, and I've always liked the Persona games. But I thought that when 2017 rolled around and the Nintendo Switch took Japan by storm, it literally just swept up Japan, and I was thinking, man, we started seeing the decline of the home consoles, traditional, and just basically the bolstering of what Nintendo was doing. Obviously, the portables had always done well when it comes to the Game Boy, the GBA, the Nintendo DS, the 3DS. All those systems did great in Japan. But with this Nintendo Switch, it was the first time that a home console, anything that's been considered that, has had that type of, I would say, power in Japan. Heck, even the Wii is not anywhere near even the 3DS in Japan. So I thought this was the first time that it was a real threat that we could see mainline Persona on something outside of PlayStation. And even though I expressed that, there were so many people that were saying, nope, exclusivity deal. There was like one flimsy article, forgot exactly where it was from, I'll have it posted if I can, that tried to make it seem as if there was some type of exclusivity deal, even though that was never said in any of the translations or even there in the article. Sony just said, oh, it's important to us. Sure, lots of stuff is important to people when it comes to gaming, when it comes to franchises, especially if it's been exclusive for quite some time. So I felt that with the Nintendo Switch's rise in Japan, that's where we were actually going to see what would happen here. And if this lie was to be busted, this was the system that was going to somehow be a catalyst or be part of the action. Now, we ultimately know what happened. Persona is now on Xbox. It's obviously coming to Switch, Persona 3, Persona 4, Persona 5 Royal, all of that. But in terms of setting it up and busting the lie, there were so many layers to this. There were so many different layers to this, and this is going to have a direct effect on what happens next. This is not just something that starts and stops with Persona. There's so much more to get into and discuss that's going to be important for the future of all of these companies involved, and we're absolutely going to get into that. The blockbuster sales of the Nintendo Switch, it just showed that trend like I discussed. And for me, I think the biggest lie buster after that was Joker being revealed as a playable character in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And not only that, it was based on his Persona 5 Royal, because he had some stuff in that when it comes to his moveset and everything that was not in the base Persona 5. So Nintendo and also Sakurai got to see all of that and put that in the game and got that there. That to me just showed it was happening. Then we had Persona 5 Strikers, and there was rumors surrounding that, which is a sequel or follow-up to the original base vanilla Persona 5. Now, it just started getting crazy at this point. Some people were saying we're only going to get the baseline Persona on the Nintendo Switch, which made no sense. Obviously, you'd want the newer, more modern version. And by the way, that used to be a thing where people would say, well, we're not getting the actual newer one, we're getting the older one. Happened with Skyrim as well. But that's beside the point. So people started saying that, and obviously that turned out to be false as well. And every single step of the way, because I think I made my first video, I think back in 2018, that I started to hear some rumors about Persona 5 on the Nintendo Switch. It was crazy because every video that I made all the way throughout those years were like downvoted. A lot of them were. Now people would say awesome stuff to me, like I hope it happens and all that, but a lot of them got downvoted. Even when I made a 20th anniversary video, I think last 2 years, like a year and a half ago or something like that, I made an anniversary video saying that, hey, Persona 4, Persona 5, I think that it could happen on Switch. Dude, it was downvoted, man. It was like 70% like to dislike ratio, which is pretty bad for my videos, right? So there was a lot of people that were just really negative on that and would not really think about anything because there was some type of shadow, fake lie going around that there was some type of deal that was never actually said. And that's the danger that we see online. Sometimes people just say things so much, they try to speak it into existence. And gamers do this with their echo chambers, and they try to speak stuff into existence that doesn't actually exist. And when you speak out against that, you could be labeled as any number of things online. You know, people will just start calling you names and saying certain things, even though there's not solid evidence to even back up the ThinkSpeak or back up the echo chamber. So obviously it was only a matter of time. And I feel that without that massive success of the Nintendo Switch, I'm not sure if all of this happens, but who knows? Maybe Microsoft swoops in and still wants to get Persona on the Xbox and everything, and that could be the case. But I feel that the intense passion from Nintendo fans really crying and complaining pretty much every single day for Persona on the Switch obviously showed Atlus and Sega, which can be very hard-headed, especially in those times, especially back then. I think it showed them that, yeah, there was an audience for this. And obviously that paid off because we saw some of the sales results, and Atlus will never actually show the breakdown because of the marketing deal they have with Microsoft. That's why the advertisements and some of the stuff has been focused towards that. But we all know in the MPD that Persona 5 on the Nintendo Switch charted back in the top of the MPD, and Persona 5 Royal was not on the PlayStation 5 charts. It was not on the Xbox charts, obviously. It was only on the Nintendo Switch charts. So the majority of those copies were from Nintendo Switch owners, and then you can combine that with the eShop sales showing that Persona 5 was in the top eShop sales for a number of weeks after it released. So we all know that the majority of that 1 million plus units that they said that they sold almost instantly after the game came out were probably from Nintendo Switch. And then they went on to say that the game, Persona 5 Royal, has sold over 3.3 million when you combine the PlayStation 4 version of the game. Now, obviously, if you're looking at it, it clearly shows that a lot of Nintendo Switch owners went out there and bought that game. They put their money where their mouth was for all of these years, and it's not stopping. People are still buying as discounts and other things kind of come out. People are still buying Persona 5 Royal on the Nintendo Switch, absolutely shattering the lie, shattering this nonsense that was going on for so long. But we can talk about this. We can look back with 2020 vision and say, okay, that was wrong. Heck, everybody's been wrong. This happens to everyone. But what about the future? What does this mean for things like Persona 6, Atlus RPGs, Nintendo 3DS and DS, franchises that have been MIA, Nintendo's hardware going forward? I think it has a instinctive part on a lot of this stuff. Obviously, the hardware, in terms of what Nintendo's going to be doing, is going to be very vital to see if a new line Persona game can come to the Switch or the next Switch, Switch 2, whatever the case is, right? Obviously, you'd want something that can be able to handle whatever they're going to do. So I feel that obviously having Persona 5 and seeing if there is a market for this is going to be very big and vital for tying into Persona 6, which we'll talk about more in just a bit. But I feel that DS, 3DS RPGs, these franchises with the install base in terms of what Nintendo's doing with the Switch, and obviously the phenomenal sales of Persona 5, give them confidence and give them extra revenue to say, okay, Switch, look at how well it's doing with this. It can use some more RPGs. It can use some more stuff that we have. Radiant Historia, stuff like that could come over. We're seeing, obviously, with Shin Megami Tensei 5. Heck, I made a video saying that Atlus made a mistake because of how great Shin Megami Tensei 5 sales are. That sold 1 million units. Best-selling Shin Megami Tensei game of all time on the Nintendo Switch in about 5 months on the market. We didn't know at that time, but yes, it was a mistake. It was a mistake to wait this long. I personally feel that, heck, if Persona 5 Royal came out a few years ago or a couple of years ago on the Nintendo Switch, like if it came out like 5 or 6 months after like the PlayStation 4 version, I think the sales would have been even faster at this point. So DS and 3DS franchises, I feel, could easily make a comeback. I think that new Atlus RPGs, it can open up revenue and avenue streams for them to really attack something new on the platform or on the next platform. But I personally feel that the Nintendo Switch is so popular, and I feel that Nintendo's going to do with their hardware, they're going to have the Tegra architecture, they're just going to beef it up, and they're going to add some other bells and whistles and other things. I think that even Nintendo Switch games are still going to be popular to play on your Switch too, very similar to how Japanese developers are still releasing PlayStation 4 games, even though the PS5 is out. They're just releasing PS4 versions saying, here you go, plays nice on there. That's that, not even a PS5 disc. So I think that the Switch could easily do the same thing, considering how popular it is now into year 6 or so. People are still buying this system like crazy. It sold over 250,000 units in the past 2 weeks in Japan. It's still the best-selling system worldwide again, despite sales dropping from the previous year. So I think that this system is still going to be around even after the next system comes out. So Atlus could easily bring new RPGs, could easily bring these remasters and stuff, but also Persona 6. Now, there could be an exclusivity deal. Sony or someone else could swoop in and say, we want this, right? But I feel that that's not going to happen. And with these sales results and what Atlus has done on the Nintendo Switch with Persona 5 and also with Shin Megami Tensei 5, that clearly shows that there is a large and sizable money-making audience on the platform, on Nintendo's ecosystem. I think that very serious talks are being made about what happens with Persona 6 and where it goes. Multi-platform release on PlayStation, on Xbox, on Switch, but I think that Switch is obviously in the conversation from the very beginning, whereas before it was more of an afterthought for spin-offs and other things. Now it's actually in the mix as, okay, we're gonna really market it on this platform, or it's going to come to this platform soon. So I feel that that's what this does. Overall, if you're looking at this lie being busted, it busted Atlus's eyes and the protective PlayStation barrier that to them kind of said, okay, well, we need to do this. SMT, Nintendo or whatever, and PlayStation, it's Persona, and it busted that old school mentality and thought process into them saying, wait a minute, there's a lot more money to be made, whether we're taking Game Pass deals or we're porting the game and taking our time, getting a really expensive but good port done. These Nintendo Switch fans, these Nintendo fans are going to buy it, whether it's SMT or whether it's Persona 5. They're buying it, and Persona 3 and Persona 4, those are going to sell well on Switch as well, which there was a physical here. So I feel that this is big on many different accounts, and this lie being shattered, being busted, being destroyed, whatever I decide to put in the title, is just happy. It just makes me happy to talk about this. And I feel that this is going to be great for all gamers, not just Nintendo, but it's great for everyone involved when it comes down to it. You're getting more revenue into Persona to where it can be bigger and better and more people get to play the game. And heck, I've always bought Persona. It doesn't matter what system it's on. I bought Persona 3, I bought Persona 4, I bought Persona 5, all on my PlayStation systems, and just the Persona 1 and 2. So to me, it's never really mattered, but not at this point. The game has changed, and clearly Atlus and Sega have seen that. But make sure, if you guys want to take a little trip back to memory lane, I will have multiple videos for you guys where I talked about these things. There are links in the description if you guys want to check them out, or if you want to check out some of my other big RPG videos where I go over countdowns and other things with RPGs that I'm excited for in 2023. There's a lot of big games coming out. Link will be in the description below for those as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you for the next one. Peace.